A very significant reason why a lot of people start an exercise program is to improve their posture. Now, most people think that this results in a lot of core work, i.e. abdominal work. But did you know that the majority of your posture is controlled by a muscle that you may have never even heard of and are probably not even exercising? The missing core muscle. Today on the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast.
Welcome to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast
with Garrett Williamson.
Health, wellness, exercise, nutrition, and a whole lot more. Got questions? Call us and leave a message at 251-278-EDGE or message us at Personal Edge Fitness on Facebook and Instagram, at Team PE on Twitter, or personaledgefitness.com.
Good day and welcome to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Garrett Williamson, president of Personal Edge Fitness. I sure appreciate you taking time to join me today to talk about this missing muscle when it comes to posture and a very important part of exercising and maintaining good posture. Now, as I always begin every program, I want to tell you how to get in touch with us in case you have any questions about this topic or any others, or maybe you have a question concerning a myth, a popular myth about fitness or something that you've just always heard about and want some clarification on. If you have any questions, please contact me at Garrett, Garrett, at personaledgefitness.com. That's, of course, my email address. You can also contact us via the website at personaledgefitness.com, our Facebook page, which is Personal Edge Fitness, and feel free to give us a call if you'd like to talk to a trainer in person. You can contact us at our mobile location at 251-341-0927 or our Eastern Shore location at 251-651-0927. I believe I spoke about this in a previous podcast dealing with core exercises. And core is a buzzword. It started about almost 20 years ago now. Core became this buzzword. And there's a lot of buzzwords in fitness. In my career, we've had aerobics. HIIT training is another buzzword. And core is one that's kind of stood the test of time. But what's interesting about core work and how it relates to an exercise program is everybody realizes, I believe, how important your quote-unquote core is. And that is the center part of your body. That's where a lot of your power comes from, a lot of your control comes from. For athletes or even weekend warrior athletes, if your core is weak, it will result in a weakness throughout your entire body, a weakness in your performance. And so we understand that core is very important. We also understand that it relates to posture. And something that we see quite often when a client has come from a doctor, they're having back problems, or maybe they have posture questions, especially back problems. And we hear this quite often, that a doctor will recommend that they work their core, and they'll go further and say you need to work your abdominals. Because of that, core has been associated with the front side of the body and abdominal work. And I mean, there's been copious amount of information about working the abdominal muscles. We're still in this big craze of transverse abdominals, plank type work. That's the kind of work to do. And I always find it funny when we discover, quote unquote, a new way of working a muscle. That's it. Most people think that, okay, you got to ditch all the old ways and you've got to only do this. I've had numerous clients tell me, I read an article where you're not supposed to do crunches anymore. You're only supposed to do like plank type work. Crunches are bad for you, which is kind of ridiculous, because if crunches are bad for you, then if you're lying on your back in your bed, don't dare sit up, because that's a crunch. It's the same thing that happened to a squat. My doctor told me I shouldn't squat. Okay, then how do you sit down? So I think it's ridiculous that we throw these exercises out. And also, I'm getting way off the subject here, but I think it's absurd that when we think about core, we typically only think about the front side of the body. Some people do know, and a good trainer knows, that your core is not just the front side of your body, it's the back side of your body. And the reason we know that is many reasons. If you're having lower back problems, you've got lower back muscles. You need to work those muscles and maintain them, not just work the front side. In fact, if you work the front side and don't work the back side, you're going to exacerbate the problem. Every muscle in the body has an equal and opposing muscle. A bicep has a tricep, a chest has a back, a quadricep has a hamstring. An abdominal set group has the erector spinae and the quadratus lumborum. And there's one other that I attribute to the back side of the body that, believe it or not, controls the majority of your posture. And that is a muscle known as the serratus or serratus anterior. The serratus anterior, it's also known as the big swing muscle or a boxer's muscle. It's an important muscle that helps optimize proper movement of our shoulders. Now think about that, especially when you're thinking about posture. Optimizes proper movement of our shoulders. Not only does this muscle have it's a really cool name, I love that, serratus anterior, but it also is needed for just a myriad of different arm movements. Now the first thing is, where is this muscle? It's located on your rib cage. In the thoracic region, you've got the different regions of the spine. You've got the cervical, that's up near the neck. You've got the thoracic, which is the main body around the rib cage. And then, of course, you've got lumbar, which is the lower part of your spine. The thoracic area, of course, is what we're talking about. It's right where, I've talked about this before, and one of my favorite muscles to work, which is the Latissimus Dorsi, which is your lats. But you can actually feel this muscle if you reach just below the pectoralis major, which is the chest muscle, and in between, just below that, and in between your lats, which is along your back, and then your abdominals, kind of in between there, that's where you can actually palpate this muscle. Now, there's deeper parts of this muscle that are actually attached just below your rotator cuff. That's why there's so much shoulder control involved in this muscle, and it's also attached to the back of your shoulder blade. Now, if you read anything about serratus anterior, it'll talk a lot about what they call scapular winging. That's evidence of weakness in the serratus. It causes what they call scapular winging. And what scapular winging is when the shoulder blade in the center of your back, in the part of the shoulder blade that's closer to your spine, starts to kind of stick out, kind of poke out. Causes a quote-unquote winging effect on your back, causing this, it looks like two wings, or one wing, depending on if you have a weakness on one side or you've got what they call bilateral weakness, in other words, weakness on both sides. And that can be caused by nerve damage, but it can also be caused by a weak serratus or a damaged serratus. So you'll hear a lot about scapular winging, but not really what I want to talk about today. And the whole reason I want to talk about the serratus deals with posture. Now, think of good posture. All right, one thing we do think about, that's why I talked so much at the very beginning about the core and about lower back, is because, if you've got weak lower back muscles, yes, that's going to affect your posture. That lordotic, that lower lumbar region in the lower back, if it starts to hump over, well, a lot of people understand about osteoporosis, or what we call Dallinger's hump, when somebody actually starts to bend over. And that can be caused through fractures in the spine, but also a lot of weak lower back muscles and some abdominal muscles. But when we get to that point, usually we're doing rehabilitative type of work. When we've got somebody that's got fractures in the spine or has that lower lordotic curve, then we're doing a lot of core work in the not only transverse abdominis, but erector spinae, the flat muscle that runs up and down the bottom part of your spine on both sides. Also quadratus lumborum, which is just a little bit on the outside of that. And also hip muscles like the iliopsoas, which actually controls your knee coming up towards your body. And the reason we work that one is, of course, it's connected to the back. But when we get to those kind of problems, of course, that lower region is what we're really concentrating on. The vast majority of the posture questions that we get are dealing with just simple upper back slump forward a little bit. And we see this in many careers. I was working with a gentleman in our Eastern Shore location just this the past week. He happens to be in the medical field, and so he's bent over a good bit. We see this a lot in dentists. It's what I call a dentist's back, because they're sitting in a chair of some sort and they're leaning over their patient so much that they actually can cause problems in especially their upper spine. This client not only was in the medical field, but he also used to be a helicopter pilot. And that was new to me concerning bad posture, because the kind of bent over position that a helicopter pilot is in. So you can actually create these things through careers. You can create these things just through not working the right muscles. You can create it from a myriad of different ways, but it can easily be corrected, especially if you address the right muscles. Now, the reason I bring up the serratus and talking so much about the serratus and why it's so important in posture, when we think of posture, and I'll say this to a client, we need to work on your posture. And the first thing that a client will do, and we all do it invariably, is we pull our shoulders backwards. Stick that chest out and pull the shoulders backwards. Now, if you do that right now, if you sit there and you try to pull your shoulders backwards, you're going to feel a tightness up in the top part of your shoulder, just below your neck. You're going to feel where that muscle is actually pulling everything backwards. Well, that's what we call your trapezius. Very important. It's that triangular looking muscle that comes from your neck down to your shoulder. In bodybuilders, it's really, really high. That neck sits up really, it makes them look like they have no neck because the shoulders just keep coming up. That's what you're working when you pull your shoulders backwards. And that's very important. But that muscle was never made basically not made to hold good posture. I had a client one time that was worried about his posture. He would keep his shoulders pulled back so much, engage that muscle so much that he had all kinds of problems. He was creating cramps in that muscle because it's not really made to do that. What is made to hold your shoulders, quote unquote, back, and the reason I use the quote unquote is very significant here, is the serratus. Now, what does it do? Well, it does pull your shoulder blades, quote unquote, back. I keep doing that. I know that's irritating. I'll tell you why I'm doing that in a minute. But quote unquote pulls those shoulder blades back. But you don't engage the serratus by actually pulling backwards. That's what's interesting about it. The serratus is very strong. It's wrapped around your rib cage. It actually is one of your respiratory muscles. It's one that actually affects and controls your breathing. So if you're breathing all day, well, that muscle's made to go all day, just like a heart muscle. So unlike the trapezius, the serratus anterior is made to function under stress pretty much all day. Therefore, holding your posture is not much of a challenge for this muscle. But the reason I say that it doesn't pull backwards, even though it seems like it does, it actually pulls down. Now, you can actually test this, and if you can stand in front of a mirror and do this, I highly recommend it. And please, 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 while you're doing this, forget I mentioned posture. Just forget I mentioned posture. The reason being is that when you engage this muscle, one of the first things you're going to try to do is you're going to try to pull your shoulders back. Don't try to pull your shoulders back. If you just conduct this simple exercise, you will see how the serratus actually pulls you into perfect posture with very little effort. Now, here's the exercise. You're going to stand, if you can, sideways to a mirror. And you can actually do it if you're riding your car. You can actually do this right now. But forget about posture. Usually when I tell people this, the first thing they do is try to pull their shoulders back when they engage this muscle. Do not do that. I want you to take your shoulders, and I want you to give me a shrug. In other words, I want you to give me an I don't know, is something else we call them, shrugs or I don't knows. Try to pull your shoulders up towards your ears, just like you're saying, I don't know, pulling your shoulders up. Now, when you pull your shoulders up like that, relax a second. When you pull your shoulders up like that, you are working the trapezius. We're not engaging the serratus yet. What I'm doing is I'm actually setting up this muscle. Because when you engage your serratus, especially for posture, it's a very short move. And most of the time when people are trying to work their serratus, if they don't do this step where they actually pull their shoulders up first, they will try to bend their arms. They'll try to do all kinds of funny things because it's a very short move and you're actually looking to try to do more. So back to what I was saying a minute ago, pull your shoulders up to your ears. That's where it starts. Now, pull your shoulders, not backwards. From that point where your shoulders are up by your ears, I want you to pull your shoulders straight down. Do not pull on it back. And I'm going to tell you right now, do it again, because I bet you money you pulled your shoulders backwards. Pull your shoulders straight up. Now, don't yank them down. Just slowly pull them down slowly, and then just keep pulling down. Look at yourself in the mirror. You're now in perfect posture. Not that absurd, ridiculous, I'm going to stick my chest out as far as I possibly can and pull my shoulders back really hard. You're in perfect posture by engaging that serratus and pulling straight down. And if you're still holding that position, you will realize it's not very difficult to hold. It is not half as difficult as pulling your shoulders back with your trapezius. It's not half as difficult as trying to arch your back really hard with your lower spine. And the reason for that is this muscle is incredibly strong. Now, let me tell you a few exercises for it. There are actually quite a few. And if you're interested in more exercises on this, you can do some of these at home. Feel free to contact me. You can reach me at Garrett@personaledgefitness.com. Call me at our Mobile location here at Personal Edge Fitness. Contact me through the website if you'd like. I'd be more than glad to talk to you about how to do some of these exercises at home. But one of the best ways, and this is a home exercise you can do, is turn over on your stomach on the floor, just like you're going to do what they call Supermans. In other words, laying on your stomach, and either hands over your head or hands by your side, and you can pull yourself up into an arch where you're actually pulling your legs off the ground. You may be familiar with that exercise. That's called a lower back exercise. All right, start over. Laying flat, do exactly what I said a minute ago. Pull your shoulders up towards your ears. Now, as you push your shoulders down, now keep your hands down by your side. As you push your shoulders down, you're going to pull up into an arch position. And then lower back down. Now, what we're doing is we're working the serratus, but we're also engaging the lower back. It's kind of firing all the muscles in that chain that are dealing with your posture. Now, I'm going to talk about one other exercise. And again, contact me if you have any other questions about other exercises. But this happens to be my favorite. I love doing this exercise. And that is done on a lat pull-down machine. You're going to sit down on the machine facing the weights. You're going to grab shoulders width, not wide, but shoulders width, overhand grip on the bar. Now, the first thing you're going to do, and this doesn't take any effort whatsoever, you're going to lock your elbows and you're going to shrug up. I know it doesn't feel like you're doing any exercise when you do that. I understand. First thing you're going to do, lock your arms, overhand grip, shoulders width with your hands, and you're going to shrug up. Now remember, keep your arms locked. Your arms do not bend during this exercise. Shrug up to the ears and then shrug straight down. Do not bend your arms. You should feel your shoulder blades coming down and together. Once you're doing it where you're not bending your arms and you're starting to feel those shoulder blades come down together, raise the weight. If you can do a lat pull down around 110, 115 pounds, I promise you, you can do a serratus exercise. Unless you've got damage in that area, you can do serratus exercise in the 130 to 180 range. This is an incredibly strong muscle. And since it's a muscle that fires all the time, like our forearms, like our heart, like our neck, like our abdominals, it's going to take high repetitions to penetrate it. If you got any more questions about the serratus, feel free to contact me at Garrett, Garrett, at personaledgefitness.com. You can also reach out to us at our website at personaledgefitness.com and our Facebook page, which of course is Personal Edge Fitness. And don't forget, everybody, as always, I want everybody to maintain your hydration. I can't believe I made it through the whole podcast and didn't mention water. The serratus, the hidden core muscle. You want true posture? Work on that. If we have any other questions, contact us because we'd love to help you reach your level of wellness. Please like and share, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast with Garrett Williamson. Subscribe now and be a part of the show by calling 251-278-EDGE or message us on Facebook and Instagram at Personal Edge Fitness or at Team PE on Twitter, and visit us at personaledgefitness.com.